Look closely at this image. What you see is the Bavar 373, the jewel in Iran's crown, an air defense system supposedly the stealth killer, capable of locking onto 60 targets simultaneously. On March 1st, 2026, at 1:15 a.m. Eastern Time, this technological behemoth, along with the Russian S-300 and S-400 batteries, was on high alert. Their operators stared at desperately blank screens. Yet, above their heads, the sky was already saturated. In less than 10 minutes, without a single radar emitting the slightest warning signal, the most sophisticated defense in the Middle East had become completely blind. Welcome to Operation Epic Fury. What we're going to dissect today goes beyond a simple military strike. It's a revolution in war doctrine. While the world slept, CENTCOM, the United States Central Command, launched an offensive of surgical precision that literally erased the situational awareness of a sovereign nation. We're not talking about a few isolated missiles. We're talking about Task Force Scorpion Strike, an elite unit that used for the first time a weapon whose very existence was being debated just 6 months ago, the Lucas drone. That night, the billions of dollars invested in Russian S-300V4 radars and local systems didn't just fail. They were humiliated by a piece of software. Why will this event change your view of global security? Because if you don't understand what happened in the first 10 minutes of this attack, you're missing the biggest strategic shift since the invention of the atomic bomb. The issue here isn't the physical destruction of buildings. The issue is electronic decapitation. If you cut off the eyes and ears of an army, even the most powerful missile in the world becomes nothing more than a useless piece of metal on an inert launcher. In the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal how the United States neutralized more than 1,000 targets in 48 hours, from nuclear sites in Isfahan to the Imam Ali missile base in Kermanshah, without the adversary even being able to press the retaliatory button. To understand this military hack, one must first understand what the Americans were fighting against. Iran is not an easy target. The country has a massive, multi-layered defense. Imagine an elite guard stationed at the entrance of a dark tunnel, equipped with ultra-sensitive night vision goggles. This guard is the radar of the SA-65, better known as the S-300V4. It is a machine designed to spot a bird hundreds of kilometers away and turn it into a fireball in seconds. Yet, that night, CENTCOM implemented an unprecedented doctrine: spectrum saturation. Even before the first Tomahawk missile left its launch tube on the destroyers at sea, the attack had already begun in the realm of the invisible. Task Force Scorpion Strike didn't aim to destroy the radars outright. It aimed to overwhelm them. This is where the concept of preemptive neutralization comes in. Through targeted cyber attacks on data fusion centers, the infamous C2 command and control centers, the Americans succeeded in corrupting how the radar interprets what it sees. In the world of radar, everything hinges on situational awareness, the ability to distinguish a real echo from a false signal. Imagine this. You're in a dark room, trying to listen for a whisper at the other end. Suddenly, someone turns on 50 loudspeakers blaring different white noises simultaneously. You're not deaf, but you can no longer hear anything useful. This is precisely what happened to the defense batteries around Tehran. They were powered on, functional, but completely incapable of processing information. So how did they manage to prevent these radars from detecting the waves of drones arriving, especially since the drones weren't even stealthy? That's where the secret innovation comes in. Because amidst this electronic chaos, a new player emerged, a low-cost machine called Lucas. What this small drone did to the Iranian operators at 1:20 a.m. wasn't just electronic warfare, it was high-level illusionism. And what the CSIS reports reveal about its ability to create phantom echoes will make you realize that the reality on the ground was nothing like what was displayed on the screens. At 1:20 a.m., as Tehran's command centers desperately tried to restart their data, C2 servers, victims of cyber attacks. A new acoustic signature invaded the skies of Western Iran. It wasn't the whine of a $100 million stealth fighter jet, but a much more modest hum, that of the Lucas drone, low-cost unmanned combat attack system. Used for the very first time in actual combat conditions that night, the Lucas represents a complete technological breakthrough. Unlike Iran's Shahed drones, which are essentially one-way roaming munitions, the Lucas is designed to be an electronic predator. Its manufacturing cost is negligible compared to the interceptor missiles it forces the enemy to waste. But its true strength lies not in its explosive payload, but in its ability to saturate by numbers. The CSIS report, authored by Rodgers, emphasizes that Lucas was designed to overwhelm radars with its sheer digital volume while simultaneously emitting active electronic countermeasures. Imagine a swarm of locusts, but where each locust has the ability to chirp so loudly that it prevents the predator from locating the others. To fully understand why the BAVAR 373 and the SA-65 remain silent, it's necessary to visualize how Lucas manipulates reality. A conventional radar works like a flashlight in the dark. It emits a beam of light and waits for it to bounce off an object. The Lucas drone doesn't just hide, it acts like a digital mirror. It captures the Iranian radar signal, modifies it in a fraction of a second, and sends it back. For the radar operator behind their screen, this creates dozens of phantom echoes. Suddenly, the radar thinks it sees not a single drone, but an entire squadron, or nothing at all. This is what is known as situational disillusionment. Iran's flagship, the BAVAR 373, failed to engage its targets not because it saw nothing, but because it saw too many things that weren't there. This is the technical reason why these systems remained silent during the critical approach phase. 3.3/strategic rehook, 6 minutes, 6 o'clock to 6:15. You might be wondering, if the radars were occupied by these phantoms, where were the real targets? While Tehran's operators battled electronic mirages, the real American firepower, the HIMARS and Tomahawks, entered the airspace at an altitude and speed that no one was monitoring anymore. 3.4/ the swarm doctrine and strike volume, 6:15 to 7:45. The tally published by the Washington Post and confirmed by CENTCOM is unequivocal. More than 1,000 targets were struck in just 48 hours. This volume is colossal. To achieve such a result with such surgical precision, Task Force Scorpion Strike used what is known as the swarm doctrine. Instead of launching sequential attacks, U.S. forces coordinated Lucas drones to act as electronic shields for cruise missiles. At Kermanshah, at the Imam Ali Missile Base, eyewitness accounts and satellite imagery analyzed by the Institute for the Study of War, ISW, show total destruction. The Iranian missile batteries were struck while still in transport position, proving that the detection systems never triggered the launch order. This was not a battle, it was an execution. Official reports from March 1, 2026 indicate that the nuclear sites in Isfahan suffered the same fate. Their defenses were neutralized within the first 10 minutes of the operation. But a mystery remains in the CENTCOM reports. While the Lucas drone served its purpose as a diversion, another, even more discreet technology was used to ensure that communications between the generals in Tehran and their distant bases were severed at the precise moment of impact. What we have discovered about the use of synchronized cyber attacks on data fusion centers will help you understand why no order to retaliate was ever issued. We're getting to the heart of the mystery. How did Task Force Scorpion Strike manage to maintain total radio silence? The answer lies in solving our open loop. It wasn't just a matter of jamming signals, but a direct attack on the network's brain. According to ISW reports, the U.S. military used synchronized cyber attacks to infiltrate the data fusion centers, the infamous C2s. Imagine trying to make an emergency call, but every time you dial the number, your phone displays "call in progress," even though it's not transmitting anything at all. That's exactly what happened to the generals in Tehran. Their command software, indicated that the Kermanshah and Isfahan batteries were operational and ready for targets, while these sites were already under heavy fire. This disconnect between the reality on the ground and the digital interface is what prevented any coordinated response. The Bavar 373 systems were never ordered to switch to automatic mode because the central system believed there was no threat to address. The figures published by the Washington Post and CENTCOM on March 1, 2026, confirm the scale of the disaster for Iranian defense. More than 1,000 targets were wiped off the map in 48 hours. But the most striking aspect remains the complete asymmetry of the losses. Videos released by CENTCOM show impacts of millimeter precision, where Imam Ali missile launchers are obliterated without even damaging adjacent buildings. This is the first time in modern history that a sovereign nation possessing a multi-billion-dollar invulnerable defense system has suffered such a devastating attack without being able to inflict significant losses in return. The feeling of being hacked is complete. The public is witnessing firsthand the programmed obsolescence of defenses in the face of the power of the wave and the code. Even the nuclear sites in Isfahan, protected by the densest layers of defense in the country, were neutralized in the blink of an eye, proving that physical protection is worthless without spectral protection. Operation Epic Fury will be remembered not only as a military victory, but as the day the paradigm of warfare shifted. Joseph Rodgers, in his analysis for CSIS, is categorical. We have moved from the era of firepower to the era of information dominance. The myth of the invulnerability of the Russian S-300 and S-400 systems, or the domestic flagship Bavar 373, evaporated in 10 minutes. If a simple swarm of low-cost Lucas drones can blind a $100 million radar, then every country must rethink its security from the ground up. The lesson of March 1, 2026 is simple but terrifying. In the wars of tomorrow, being stronger is no longer enough. You have to be the one who controls what the enemy sees on their screen.